What's up, everybody? It's your boy, Coach Drew. And of course, I got some game and tips for you today. This one is on podcast. So I've been doing this podcast maybe for about 8 months, and I'm just going to tell you some of the uh, how the journey is going and how I got here. So my number one goal for podcasting was to have a podcast where I didn't do editing. My whole goal was to do one and done, give you information, give you tips and tricks and wisdoms, and let that be it. Now, with that being said, a lot of my podcast is just audio. I've done some video, but I like audio. Why? Because I'm usually doing these podcasts like around 4:45 a.m. in the morning. So I'm looking a little beat up and I'm quiet because people are still sleeping in my house, my wife and my kids. Now, how did I build the consistency to keep going? This is episode 63 that you're listening to right now. The way I did it was I wanted my podcast to be very, very short. And I wanted them short because I wanted them to feel like a quick car ride to the gas station. I'm big on if I give you bite-sized information and let you eat, chew on it, and then think about it, and then maybe come back for more. Not against longer podcasts at all. I'm pretty sure you're going to see some of that come from me and some guests in the future. But the way I built the consistency was when I first started, I made sure every day that I woke up for about 15 days that I would shoot one podcast. So I would do it for 15 days and then I would schedule it out throughout the months. This way, when I had periods where I just didn't have the motivation to do it or I didn't feel like getting up to do it, I had a podcast ready. So that's tip number one, batch it. If you can do a couple at once, do that. And this way you can just schedule some out. The second thing I did was at first I would make all of my podcasts into little mini series. So I would do part one, part two. That would be Monday and then a Thursday. And this helped me because, believe it or not, you're going to run out of topics. Shout out if you haven't been on my website. I have ebook called 50 Podcast Ideas. You can get that www.drewcost.com. Now, with that being said, it doesn't mean that you're going to still have just tons of motivation, ideas, topics, just ready to go. So when you do feel motivated, when you do feel like it's time to strike the iron and things like that, go for it. Get a bunch of content out. I would always say to people, keep learning, keep reading, keep finding out things that are going on to keep the podcast interesting. But the number one thing I'm going to say to do is try to build the consistency muscle. Even if you're doing it at first and you're just forcing yourself, nothing is wrong with that. Why do I say that? Everyone thinks if you're forcing something at first, that something is wrong. No, it just literally means that, hey, like I'm building a muscle. I'm a fitness trainer, right? I know for one, if you don't build the muscle, right, the muscle has to rip and then the muscle is going to grow. If you don't go through those steps, if you don't build it, it's not going to grow. And it's the same thing. So that's how I started. Now, where I'm at now, I have a little more flow, and I'm looking to go and do more video stuff and things where I'm actually doing some interviews with people and something with my wife. So that may change a little bit, but consistency, building the muscle is the top things I can tell you to do if you're thinking about a podcast or if you have one. I would suggest doing those things and watching it grow. Don't worry about all the other stuff that confuses people with anyone listening. Just start going, just start building it, and you can work on the rest as you go. All right. I'm going to leave the link to get the book in the show notes. Right. So I want you to go to the website or just go to the link, get the book, 50 Podcast Ideas, and rock with it, guys. Take care.